debate for many years. I'm going to speak in a few moments, and we've got Ian McGill, a very good friend of mine, a vet, who also has worked very closely on the Geronimo issue as well. And we've got Kevin O'Sullivan, who's here from Talk Radio, who's going to speak from a broadcaster point of view, who's followed this story very closely. But what I want to do first is introduce you to someone of great courage and integrity that has fought with this department for the last 5 years for the life of her precious alpaca Geronimo, that in my view has been bullied and intimidated by this department in a disgraceful way. That despite all her care and compassion, had to face the brutal removal and killing of that alpaca Geronimo last week that shocked the world. But it's for me to really hand over to Helen MacDonald, who needs to speak to you in her own words about how she feels and how she is seeking justice for Geronimo.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. And can you all hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here today. And for all of those at home who couldn't make it, I know you're all here in spirit. I have had thousands of emails, cards, messages, texts. I can't tell you what the last 6 weeks has been like. Today, I would like to read a press statement that we issued a short while ago first, and then I would like to tell you in my own words what the last 4 years have been like. I promise not to take ages over it, but it's important that you all hear it. So, the press statement is entitled Geronimo the Alpaca. Preliminary post-mortem findings show that Geronimo did not have bovine TB.
Okay, quiet please.
I also call for the Secretary of State, George Eustace, to resign. Geronimo the alpaca, executed by DEFRA on Tuesday the 31st of August, did not have bovine tuberculosis, according to the preliminary findings of the post-mortem. Not a surprise. Geronimo was brutally removed from his farm and executed despite alternative scientific proposals being submitted and received by DEFRA, with requests for all parties to seek an outcome which delivered on both the government's bovine TB policy objectives and the objective of keeping a healthy animal alive. These proposals were consistently ignored by the government, despite my unrelenting professionalism, evidenced by exemplary practices at my farm, and the commitment to improve bovine TB policy. The government have consistently refused to engage in a transparent and cooperative manner. Immediately following the deeply traumatic removal of Geronimo on the 31st of August, I formally requested information regarding how, when, and where Geronimo was put to death. And I requested the presence of an independent, expert, and fully qualified witness at the post-mortem. This request was immediately denied and flatly refused by the government on the same day. On that same day, I also formally requested the full results of the post-mortem on Geronimo, once again beseeching the government to be fully transparent. On Friday the 3rd of September, a letter was received from the government legal department containing only the preliminary findings of the post-mortem, as reviewed by Dr. Ian McGill, behind me, here he is, and Dr. Bob Broadbent, Geronimo's vet. The preliminary gross post-mortem findings are negative for visible lesions typical of bovine tuberculosis. For clarity, Not everyone knows what you might find in there, but for clarity, there are no white or cream caseous enlarged abscesses typical for TB in alpacas, whether in the lungs, the bronchial, mediastinal or retropharyngeal lymph nodes. I've formally requested the full findings of the post-mortem report, which is Form TB50, together with all relevant documents and the results of further tests on tissue samples, blood serum or plasma taken or obtained from Geronimo, along with any further test results including Enfaplex, IDEX, Actiphage and any other, any other PCR or interferon gamma tests performed by DEFRA, along with the results of histopathological examination. I have further requested that both fresh, frozen and formalin-fixed tissue and fluid samples be preserved and provided to an independent expert to carry out further tests. To date, the government has refused to provide this information, despite multiple requests on the 31st of August and again on the 7th of September. The government legal department, in a letter received earlier today, claimed that as various teams across DEFRA and AFA are involved in preparing a response, our client is not in a position to revert by the time unreasonably expected. They have
Disgrace! DEFRA disgrace! DEFRA disgrace!
They have once again refused to provide me with a contact person at DEFRA or APHA. Me and my supporters remain deeply concerned about the standards of integrity and transparency adopted by DEFRA throughout this 4-year ordeal and the manner in which the execution and the post-mortem have been conducted. We urge the government to act with compassion and cooperation, which to date has been severely lacking, creating deep and unnecessary distress to Geronimo, me, and all of you, the supporters. And I include the press in that because what we witnessed last week was disgusting.
DEFRA is corrupt! Justice must resign!
In light of the Secretary of State, George Eustace, stating that he had read all of the scientific evidence and was satisfied that the TB tests were 99% accurate, when in fact they were not, by perpetuating DEFRA's kill first, investigate later bullying regime, and by refusing to engage with any other possible solution presented to him, we call on the Secretary of State to tender his resignation immediately. I'm not done. Bit more. The role of Dr. Christine Middlemiss, the UK's Chief Veterinary Officer of the Government Veterinary Services, is also being called into question. I have raised my concerns with the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, requesting an investigation into her professional conduct. Furthermore, I have made a request under Freedom of Information Act seeking full disclosure of what actually transpired in relation to Geronimo. We are confident that if this request is complied with, then the full extent of the gross incompetency and disingenuous nature of DEFRA will be exposed. That's the end of the press statement.
Useless out! Useless out! Useless out! Useless out! Can we just, I'd just like to